Leeds. The music of a renowned operetta, composer is to make a posthumous UK debut in West Yorkshire tonight. Joseph Beer was a Jewish composer whose rapid rise to fame in his mid-20s was cut short by the Nazi regime. He was the last of the Viennese Silver Age operetta composers, and his daughter, soprano Béatrice Beer, will be performing his music in Leeds this evening. And I'm absolutely made up to tell you that Beatrice is with us now. Good morning.
Good morning, Richard.
How are you?
Emotional a bit.
Yeah, well, thank you ever so much for coming in this morning.
You're welcome.
I must admit, I was unaware of your father's story, and I think that is because, tragically, there are so many stories of Jewish people's lives, careers, being affected by the Nazis and people who lived or died through that time. So would you tell us about Joseph Beer, please?
My father was actually, you started by saying it right, he is an opera composer. His first period was as a youth. He composed Polnische Hochzeit in 3 weeks. When he was like mid-20s, that was his operetta moment. And actually there's much debate as to the genre. And to make a long story short, I think it's just, not humbly speaking, a masterpiece that just is. And then during the war, he composed a whole opera in his head, premiered at the Zurich Opera House also in 1949. And then the rest of his life, nothing was performed, but he composed daily through his death. And like there's masterpieces that are not published, waiting to be performed. And that's like grand opera, like Zeffirelli type staging. He wrote his own libretti post-war because his librettist was Fritz Lenebeda, who was murdered by the Nazis, and he could never replace him. So the only librettist he had, collaborator post-war, was my mother for like 40 years, worked with him, toured with him, and never saw anything success for him.
And his life was punctuated by the war. He fled Austria.
Correct.
After the Anschluss.
Yep.
And you mentioned his work wasn't performed. That was because of how he was affected by how the Nazis treated his family during the war. Is that right?
Perfect. Yes, exactly. They were murdered. He tried to free them. He even wrote a whole opera in his head as a ghostwriter and got lots of money for doing that. Sent it to Poland, but nothing reached them, and they could not free them from the ghetto where they were, and then sent to Auschwitz and murdered. So he never recovered that, and he was very staunch on being ethical and not wanting to have anything to do with anybody even remotely associated with this type of era.
Were you always destined, however, then to have a life in music, being his daughter and being so close to him?
Well, yes and no. The fact is that, I started to sing when I was 2, and my mother says I knew like 60 songs at the time I was 4. But my father was saying first, and I was also good at writing and sort of made A's in class. So my father said, first you do your PhD and then we'll see about singing. Because he was scared, for me.
And what has brought you to West Yorkshire? Why here? And this is the first time, am I right in thinking that these particular works have been performed?
Totally. Perfect. Yeah. Yes. It's like a world premiere. My father was never played in the UK. He came as a youth. My sister reminded me yesterday, he came before the Anschluss. He came here to work on the premiere of Polnische Hochzeit. Somehow, it didn't work. But actually, Richard Tauber, you probably know him. He was going to premiere his work pre-war and immigrated to London, the great tenor. But so we can thank, Professor Derek Scott, big plug for him. He's the one who produced and organized everything and invited me here to sing this fantastic concert. He's been working very hard. I've been working very hard, so I'm excited.
It's free.
Yes, sir.
It's happening at the Clothworkers Centenary Concert Hall this evening, 6:15 to 7:15.
Yes.
And it's all part of, a little bit of a bigger project as well, isn't it?
Yes.
What do you know about that?
I just know it's the first international operetta conference ever. Like people are coming from everywhere, England, US, Germany, Austria, Poland. Actually, there is a person from Poland who will do a lecture tomorrow who will include Polnische Hochzeit, I just found out. So it's exciting for everybody.
It must be doubly exciting for you.
Yes! Sorry.
Are sopranos normally in this good voice at 5 to 7 on a morning?
God bless you. I went to bed extra early on your behalf.
Good. Well, you look far better on an early start than I ever do. And it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you, Beatrice.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you would like to see Beatrice and hear the music of her father, Joseph, then you can do. It's happening this evening at the Clothworkers Centennial Hall. It's a 6:15 start, and it is free of charge. And it is, as Beatrice has just said, an absolute world premiere of a man who we may have known far more about if it weren't for the outbreak of World War II and if it weren't for the treatment of the Jewish people by that Nazi regime. Thank you ever so much for coming to see us, Beatrice.
God bless you.
Good luck this evening. Thank you. It's BBC Radio Leeds. Hello, good morning. My name is Richard. On the way after 7 o'clock this morning.